old house, the screen on our porch door broke off, and Dixie got used to jumping through the empty door. Dad fixed the door and even made a special hole in the screen next to the door for Dixie to walk through instead of the door.
Yep, that's not going anywhere.
This is one of the only times I've seen my father just give up. He left the door without a screen after that. Years later, we got a trampoline for the backyard. In all my dad's previous building shenanigans, I had been too young or aloof to help. Or I couldn't hold the light good enough. But this time, I was gonna help Dad build the trampoline and prove to him that I could be handy too. This trampoline used metal leaf springs instead of normal springs. You would use a special tool to bend the metal leaf to clip into the trampoline mat. I was the designated leaf spring bender, and Dad was the designated mat clipper. As we clipped more and more springs, it got harder and harder to get them to connect because the mat was so stretched out. Dad held out the mat and I bent the leaf spring with all my might. I pushed and pushed as hard as I could. Then, the tool slipped off the leaf spring and slammed into Dad's head. Oh my gosh! Dad, are you okay?
It's okay, it's just pain.
And I never became a handyman. Whenever my car makes a weird noise, I just call Dad and start crying. Now, the rest of this video will be dedicated to making fun of him and slandering his name. Let's get into it. From as far back as I can remember, my dad has been a Bob the Builder, I can fix it type fella. And he always tried to make fun stuff for us while growing up. He made a train table for me, a half pipe for my brothers, a deck for our house, a multi-level treehouse with a zip line, and installed a rope swing to the tree out front. And in most cases, he's able to fix things that aren't working. Except his son's attention spans. Or his own. Nobody can. But this blessing can become a curse when something stumps him. I think fixing things is so integral to his essence that once he starts fixing, he can't stop.
Come on, you piece of crap! Gosh, the frick, dang it!
Dad, it's okay. Just calm down.
I'm completely calm! I can see that.
I definitely inherited his hyperfixation trait. Who's to say if that's good or bad? At our old house, the screen on our porch door broke off, and Dixie got used to jumping through the empty door. Dad fixed the door and even made a special hole in the screen next to the door for Dixie to walk through instead of the door.
Yep, that's not going anywhere.
This is one of the only times I've seen my father just give up. He left the door without a screen after that. My dad is very smart in a lot of ways. He has an engineering degree and master's degree in business, but he doesn't always apply his knowledge in the best way. One time on a road trip by the coast, Dad wanted to drive our Suburban onto the sand with all of us in it. Dad, no, don't do it. We'll get stuck on the sand. Please, no.
We're doing it! Woohoo!
We're sinking!
Don't worry, I'll just hit the gas pedal harder.
Wow, who could have predicted this? This should have been the moment where I realized that adults don't know everything, but embarrassingly, it took me becoming one to realize that most adults are just children, but bigger, some of which have access to the nuclear launch codes. Kinda a bummer, I know. And apparently, not applying his knowledge correctly went way back to his youth. Back when my dad was in college, he had to bike to his classes in the snow. Uphill both ways, of course. He turned a corner and the bike slipped on a patch of ice. His laptop bag was covered in snow and he went back home to make sure nothing was broken. Luckily, it was okay, just a little dented. Then he got back out on his bike and he assumed that since he knew the ice was there, that this time he'd be able to bike over it more carefully. So instead of going around, he took the same path and slipped again, shattering his laptop.
Son of a
Apparently, all dads have pre-programmed dialogue that they say in all applicable situations. Here are some of my dad's classic phrases.
All right, guys, come on, let's go. Don't rotate my chair. See, the crispy part of the egg? That's what's known as a Maillard reaction. It's when food almost burns but not quite, which enhances the flavor and gives it a caramelized texture. Where's the remote? Where's my tools? Where's my phone? Where's my wife? Out of my way, out of my way. I need to be right there. We don't need the rule book. We'll just learn as we play. Did you know that salt used to be used as a currency? Because it was the only way to preserve meat since they hadn't invented refrigerators yet. Don't touch the thermostat.
Boy, stop fighting or I'm calling your father. That's it. Honey?
Kids, listen to your mother.
As you can see, my dad has quite the ability to turn a phrase. But some quotes were so powerful that they only needed to be said once to become instant classics.
Yeah. All right, give me the phone. I'll talk to him. Brody, you need to stop peeing on your brother. How old's your son? He's 15.
But of course, we can't forget my favorite one.
Son of a
And that's another thing I inherited from Dad. NPC dialogue. The best way I can describe it is that I have little scripts in my mind, and when a situation reminds me of a story or fun fact, I always say the exact same story in the exact same way. For example, did you know that a trespasser could sue you if they got attacked on your property because the beware of dog sign implies that you know the dog is dangerous? So you're better off getting a dog on premises sign.
Did you know that on an early test run of Space Mountain, the test dummies came out without heads? The entire ride is also filled with high-power fans that blow on your face and make you feel like you're going way faster than you really are, but you'd never know because you're in the dark.
Did you know that if your brain hears the same information as little as 2 or 3 times, it will probably believe it, even if there's no factual evidence to back it up? Did you know that the moon landing was faked? Did you know that the actor actually broke his toe right there, so the scream was real? Yes, I know! I've heard these sound bites 100 times before! Get some new material! When my dad was in college, he had to bike to his classes in the snow. Uphill both ways, of course. He turned a corner and the bike slipped on a patch of ice. His laptop bag was covered in snow and he went back home to make sure nothing was broken. Luckily, it was okay, just a little dented. Then he got back out on his bike and he assumed that since he knew the ice was there, that this time he'd be able to bike over it more carefully. So instead of going around, he took the same path and slipped again, shattering his laptop.
Son of a f***er!
This is ironic because my dad taught me that the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And yet... in one game, I was doing very well for myself. I had several stars and a whopping 270 coins. But this was the Spaceland map. If the center platform gets stepped on 5 times, Bowser's spaceship shoots a giant laser across the board. And of course, I was right in the crosshairs.
Hey! No! Stop! Just calm down! Don't do it!
I started resorting to more drastic measures to try and beat my brothers. There's a mini game where you have to mash the A button as fast as you can, and I decided to tip the scales in my favor. I grabbed a massage gun and put it on max speed on my palm, which caused my fingers to vibrate insanely fast. Then I put my finger on the A button and... As the second youngest, my older brothers were always so much better than me at everything. And honestly, so was Brenner. He was spat out the womb knowing how to use an iPad and was 360 no-scoping noobs while still in diapers.
That's so unfair.
Skill issue. Stay mad, honestly.
All right, well played. Let's play a different game.
Happy feet! Wombo combo!
At my old place, I noticed that Bo had started to lick the corner of my couch every so often. It was kind of annoying, but he had conditioned me to just be used to him licking everything at that point. A few weeks went by, and he kept licking the couch regularly. Finally, I decided to check it out. Expecting a toy or ball or something, I reached in and pulled out a stick of butter! He had stashed it in my couch! For weeks! As I thought about it, I felt more and more betrayed. This wasn't just normal mindless stealing. This was calculated, it was intelligent, and it was planned. He not only stole from me, but he had the foresight to stash it, hide it in plain sight, so he could savor the flavor for longer. So I'd be there on the couch petting him and loving him, unaware of him enjoying his stolen goods. And then, several times after that, I'd come home to an empty butter wrapper on my floor. And get this, as I was moving away, we took apart my bed and found another stick of butter stashed behind it! As I was settling into my new house, I finally decided to upgrade to a big fancy bed. In my old bed, Bo always slept with me, and he had some separation anxiety, so I decided to let him join me on my new bed. The first few nights went off without a hitch. Then one night, I step out of the shower and he peed on my bed! I immediately started screaming at him and kicked him out of the room. I stripped the bed, and fortunately, my mom had encouraged me to get a waterproof sheet for my bed. I thanked my lucky stars because it was almost game over. There's no power on earth that can unpiss a mattress. It was a close call, but my mattress was safe. I marched over to Bo, shoved the pee-stained sheets in his face, and screamed, "What is this? Why did you do this? Bad dog!" Bo looked at me like he had never looked at me before, terrified and trembling. My anger melted away, and I started crying and apologizing. Fortunately, Bo never peed on my bed again, though, because he's been banished from my room for all time. While at school, my house, my teacher, my mom, would give me writing assignments. One of these assignments requested that I write a sentence with at least 50 letters in it, but I decided that was too hard, so to make it easier on myself, I wrote this. Look, Mom, it has 50 letters, just like you said. Even then, I was such a creative problem solver, but for some reason, my mom called it cheating. My mom even sent me to this art class at this lady's house with my friends, and she gave us all kinds of fun projects like paper mache, watercolors, and collages, etc. I'm so glad I developed a love of art at such a young age, because art is such an amazingly fulfilling hobby, and I'm so lucky to be able to do it as a job. And now, I have an amazing superpower. I can imagine anything I want and make it real by drawing it, see? But then it was time to move again. I said goodbye to my friends, we did another cross-country road trip, and arrived at our new house in California. I made some new friends in the neighborhood, and it was time for me to take on public school. And I hated it. But it's okay to hate things, it builds character. Plus, my grades were really good if we're going by golf rules. And having my friends with me made it a lot easier. And now I am a very well-rounded, well-adjusted, socially adept young man. Yeah, me and my cousin were hanging out, and, you know, we built a Lego set the other day. You like Lego? I love Legos. Did you know that Lego was invented in 1932 in Denmark by a man named Ole Kurt Christiansen? Originally, they were just wooden toys, but eventually they started making interlocking plastic bricks to create a system in which all their toys could be linked together. Despite many hardships, including their factory burning down, Ole and his family persevered and continued to manufacture the unique brick system. Then in 1978, the Lego minifigure as we know it was created. Minifigures are a high-value collector's item. In fact, a recent study showed that buying Lego sets was a better investment than the stock market because of how well they hold their value. This means that buying and building Lego sets isn't just a fun hobby, it's a smart way to use your money. Guys? However, a hobby that has stuck with him through the ages is remote-controlled cars, trains, boats, and planes. This leads into another instance of his poor knowledge application, that being using said RC vehicles around the family dogs. You would think that after seeing this happen that he'd, I don't know, put the dogs inside or fly his RC toys somewhere else, but nope. The same story has happened on pretty much every family camping trip.
No! Stupid dogs! No! Stupid dogs! No! Stupid dogs!
Yeah, they're the stupid ones. But the sad thing is, if the dogs don't destroy the RC planes, Dad definitely will. I can't count how many RC planes he's crashed. It's not even a question of if he will crash them anymore, it's when. On our most recent trip, Dad bought a big fancy plane that could take off and land in the water. He gathered us all together to watch its maiden voyage, and we all just watched sadly, anticipating the inevitable.
No! Stupid plane!